Hello everyone, welcome back to the News Telefact YT channel. Please subscribe and like my videos. Today I'm bringing you a deep dive into one of recent history's most dramatic industrial strikes, the blitz on one of Russia's largest oil refineries in the conflict with Ukraine. We'll unpack the exterior, interior, performance or functionality, safety features and systems, the unique selling points of the facility before the strike, its value-price estimate, and then wrap with a conclusion and implications. Let's first set the stage. The refinery in question is Kirishi-2, located in the Leningrad region near St. Petersburg. Kirishi-2 is a high-conversion residual oil refining complex, built in 2017, intended to process large volumes of crude and produce higher yields of light, valuable petroleum products. On the night of October 4, 2025, Ukrainian drones reportedly struck the facility, triggering explosions and fire, which were later extinguished. The refinery handles roughly 6.4% of Russia's total refining capacity and processes tens of millions of tons annually. As we go through this, just imagine a massive industrial complex with pressure vessels, distillation towers, pipelines, control rooms, storage tanks, utility systems, all under threat of precision attack. On the exterior, this refinery stood as a modern industrial fortress. Massive distillation and vacuum towers reached skyward, connected by catwalks, ladders, piping grids, flares, cooling units, heat exchangers, utility modules, and auxiliary structures. Surrounding the core were large storage tanks for crude feedstock and refined products, gasoline, diesel, kerosene, fuel oil, LPG, and so on. Rail sidings, pipelines, loading stations, pumping stations, flare stacks, and security perimeters surrounded the facility. The entire site would have been wired with CCTV, perimeter fences, guard towers, anti-intrusion systems, and blast walls in vulnerable zones. Exterior pipe racks, manifold headers, and cross-connection lines crisscrossed the site, connecting each functional unit. There would have been redundant cooling systems, water treatment plants, utilities like power transformers, and control buildings. The exterior was designed to support robust fire suppression, hydrants, foam systems, deluge systems, firewater reservoirs, emergency access roads, and brake zones. Many of the tanks would have had bunded containment or dikes to contain spillage, and safety spacing to reduce risk of chain reaction damage. The outer zones likely had buffer zones or exclusion zones to minimize collateral risk. Now to the interior. This part is massive, so I'll detail it thoroughly. Inside the facility, behind the exterior shell and pipes, lies a complex, tightly engineered system of process units, control centers, and utility modules. The heart of the interior is the refining process units, crude distillation, atmospheric and vacuum conversion units, catalytic cracking, hydrocracking, reformers, hydro-treating units to remove sulfur, nitrogen, metals, desulfurization units, gas treatment, isomerization, alkylation, and blending modules. Supporting these are the heat integration systems, heat exchangers, furnaces, boilers, steam networks, condensers, and cooling water circuits. Pipes of varied diameters carry crude, intermediates, gases, hydrogen, catalysts, fuel gas, and utilities. Inside, thick insulation and refractory linings protect furnaces and reactors. Safety valves, pressure relief devices, rupture discs, and instrumentation lines are everywhere. The control room is a nerve center. Banks of DCS, distributed control system monitors, human-machine interfaces, alarm systems, process historians, redundant servers, emergency shutdown ESD panels, safety logic controllers, and operator workstations. Behind the control room, scalar rooms host shutoff valves, isolation valves, emergency manual overrides, and safety instrumented systems. Utility spaces house large pumps, compressors, vacuum pumps, inert gas systems, nitrogen supply, instrument air systems, cooling towers, air compressors, power switchgear, uninterruptible power supply systems, backup generators, instrument rooms, maintenance workshops, and spare parts storerooms. The interior also includes laboratories for quality control, sampling stations, flare systems, blowdown lines, and wastewater treatment modules. There are corridors, maintenance access walkways, catwalks, and platforms. The piping and instrumentation runs overhead and underfoot, with maintenance ladders and safety railings. Many high-hazard zones require explosion-proof lighting, gas detection, and ventilation systems to keep flammable vapors under control. Inside storage tank zones, interior surfaces often include floating roofs, internal membranes or double walls, and vapor recovery systems. Internal monitoring sensors, level gauges, overfill protection, and grounding systems are critical. The interior is zoned for Class 1 hazardous areas. Intrinsically safe instrumentation and control equipment is used, especially near potential vapor zones. During the strike, interior damage would include destruction of pipe headers, rupture of distillation columns, damage to pumps, control rooms affected by blast waves, collapse of structural supports, and ignition of flammable mixtures within interior zones. The interior is vulnerable even if exterior walls remain intact. Now, when I say performance, we are talking about how the plant functioned under normal operations. Before the strike, the refinery was capable of high throughput, optimizing conversion of heavier fractions into lighter, high-value products. It was engineered for high yield of gasoline, diesel, and aviation fuel, with deep conversion capability. The plant efficiency, energy integration, heat recovery, minimal losses was state-of-the-art. It produced around 11% of Russia's total gasoline output and a significant share of diesel, aviation fuel, and LPG. Its design allowed it to switch feedstock blends and adjust operations to market demands. It likely had a high on-stream factor availability, perhaps 85 to 90% in good years. Because it was built recently, it used relatively modern catalysts, process control, and automation to optimize yields and reduce waste. But under attack, performance falls off sharply. Damage to key units, distillation columns, converters, hydro-treaters, leads to shutdown of entire sections. Loss of power, control, or utilities can cascade the shutdown of the entire plant. Fires and structural damage may prevent resumption for long periods. So while performance in ideal times was strong, under a precision strike the vulnerability is exposed. On safety features and systems, prior to the attack the refinery was built with multiple layers of protection. Fire detection and suppression systems were deployed, flame detectors, smoke detectors, gas detectors, automatic foam deluge, sprinkler and hydrant systems, water sprays, deluge baths, and firewater pumps. Many units would have their own fire zones, isolation valves, and emergency shutdown systems (ESD). Safety instrumented systems (SIS) would manage critical safety functions such as overpressure, overtemperature, leaks, runaway reactions. Double redundant or even triple redundant control and power systems ensure that control can be maintained if one system fails. The facility likely included nitrogen blanketing, inerting, vapor recovery, flare systems to safely burn off excess gases, and blowdown systems. The design would include pressure relief valves, rupture discs, safety valves, and flare headers with relief to safe zones. For hazardous operations, explosion venting panels or weak roofs might be installed to relieve catastrophic pressure buildup safely. The plant also likely had strict access control, gas monitoring, fixed fire fighting stations, trained fire brigades, emergency response teams, fire hydrants every few hundred meters, hydrant ring mains, foam generation systems, deluge headers, firefighting water reserves or ponds, and backup pumping systems. Toxic gas monitoring and alarms could alert personnel of leaks. Structural blast walls or explosion walls may isolate vulnerable units. Escape routes, muster areas, and safety signage would be integral. There would also be backup power, diesel generators or alternate feeds, and backup instrumentation. And in modern plants, remote shutdown and automated safety systems reduce human exposure. However, precision drone strikes can bypass many of those protections. Penetrating munitions, shock waves, and fragmentation can damage instrumentation before suppression can act.